Hi again, Mark here from talkingbass.net. In the last scales lesson, we looked at the basic minor pentatonic scale. This week, we're going to add one extra little note in there to give us the good old blues scale. Remember that all the lesson material is available to download over at talkingbass.net. Just follow the link in the info below. And you can also find hundreds more free bass lessons over there in the lesson map where they've all been categorized for ease of use. Then, while you're there, just sign up for free to gain access to the members area, where you'll find tons more free bass resources and downloads. So, go check it out. Okay, let's look at the blues scale. Now, the blues scale that we're going to look at today is also called the minor blues scale. There's also a supposed major blues scale, but to be honest, when most people think of a blues scale, they think of this minor one. And as you'll see, it'll actually pay to stop thinking of it as a separate scale and just treat the extra note as a little chromatic device, but I'll get to that later. So first let's have a refresher on that minor pentatonic scale. So we'll play a C minor pentatonic scale starting at the 3rd fret of the A string. So we'll just work up ascending and descending. So we have C, E flat, F, G, B flat, C. Okay, so that's the notes as we work up. The frets, that's 3rd fret, 6th fret A string, 3rd fret, 5th fret D string, and 3rd fret, 5th fret G string. Okay, so you want to play up that and down. Okay? So to create the blues scale, all we have to do is add one extra note to that minor pentatonic. And that note is the flattened 5th or sharpened 4th degree. Okay? Now don't worry about all the terminology there. You'll see where it is as we work through. And that note is actually sometimes called the blues note, but I'll get to that when we get to the note. So let's work up through the C blues scale. So we have C, E flat, so that's 3rd fret, 6th fret A string, so just like the minor pentatonic, but then when we get onto the D string, we have F, F sharp, G, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, okay? So you can see there, we've put that F sharp in there, or G flat, okay? So it fills the gap between those two notes, so F and G for the minor pentatonic, and we've just slotted it in there in between them. Then we just continue up, B flat to C, okay? So, 3rd fret, 5th fret, G string. So, altogether, C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, C. 3rd fret, 6th fret, A string, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, D string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, G string. Play up and down. And you can already hear that it gives us a bit of that bluesy edge. So, here's the minor pentatonic, which is a little bit more neutral, and here's the blues scale. Okay? So that's the basic minor blues scale, and you can see that once you've got that minor pentatonic scale under your fingers, the blues scale's really easy. So just try moving that scale around. Remember that no matter where you move that pattern, we'll still have a blues scale. So if I move that whole pattern up 2 frets to a D, starting on a D, that's a D blues scale. If I played it starting on a G, that'd be a G blues scale. And just like in the previous lesson, the previous scales lesson, you can use the exercise of working up 1 fret at a time until we get to the octave and back. So if you take the C blues scale, move it up to C sharp, D, E flat, just keep going up until you reach up to the C of the octave and then work back down again. Etc. So, I mean, it's a pretty mindless exercise, but it's just to get your fingers working, just playing that scale up and down, just working around the fretboard, okay? And once you've played it up and down on that A string, you can try it on the E string. So you could start on a G, up to a G sharp, up to an A, etc. Just working up and down the neck. Once you have that blues scale under your fingers, you can start to practice using it in application. Now, my big tip here will be to just treat that blues scale as a minor pentatonic. Learn to use the minor pentatonic and then treat the blues scale just as a slight variation. And don't overuse that blues note. Try to see it more as a melodic device to give you that bluesy edge in there. So you could use it as a simple passing note in just making ascending and descending lines. Or you could use it as a little neighbour note in there to move around on that fourth. So those kind of licks. So I'm moving from the fourth up to the blues note, back, and then down. But I'm using it quite sparingly in there just to give it that little bit of a bluesy edge. Because you're using it as a bit of a variation on the minor pentatonic, it is possible to use that blues scale over minor type chords like the minor 7, but probably the most common use in soloing is as a kind of one-size-fits-all scale over a complete blues progression. Now in something like an F blues progression, the F blues scale will kind of work over the whole 12 bars while moving through F7, B flat 7 and C7, but be very careful in doing this. This is more of a soloing concept and often works fine for guitarists and instruments that are playing over a rhythm section, but if you are playing solo with no rhythmic accompaniment and no way to hear the chords in the background, you're likely to lose all sense of the chord progression. Now I won't go into all of this now, like I say, it's more of a soloing topic. To begin with, it's probably better to look at the blues scale just with a view to creating riffs and runs. Probably the most famous example of a riff using the blues scale is the main riff from Sunshine of Your Love by Cream, and that sounds like this. Okay, and that uses the D blues scale. Now, I'll quickly run through that just to show you how that works. With the D blues scale, let's play up through that. We'd have D, F, G, G sharp, A, C, D, okay? So that'd be 5th fret and then 8th fret A string, then 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret on the D string, and then 5th fret, 7th fret on the G string. Now let's have a look at that riff. So if we start at the top, so we've got D, D, C, D, so that's 7th fret and 5th fret of the G string. You can see that, it's there in the blues scale. Then it comes down A flat, G, okay, so that's 7th fret, 6th fret, 5th fret, again, all notes from that D blues scale. And then we have the D, the root note there, 5th fret of the A string, and then usually with this riff you'd play the F there at the 3rd fret of the D string, so, and then back to the D, so. Now, the only part of that you won't recognise from our pattern is this F here at the 3rd fret, and that's simply because we've just moved down in position. That note is still there in the D blues scale, it's just that we played it here. So with our pattern we had the D, then the F there, 8th fret of the A string. All we've done is taken that F there and put it down there on the 3rd fret of the D string. So, remember that any scale you can play in many, many different ways on the neck. It's just that the initial pattern that I've showed you for the blues scale is this one. But there's, nothing wrong with playing it, like that. Either way, those notes in there, that's the D blues scale. So now let's have a look at a really simple original riff using that blues scale, and I'll play this in C, so using the C blues scale, and with the drum beat it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So to begin with, just as a refresher, try playing through that C blues scale, and that'll set you up ready to play the notes that are in it. So, okay, so now we're in position. So it's in 2 parts, and the first part sounds like this. Okay, so we play 2 notes on the C, then we just come up through that blues scale on off beats. So we have, so there's the E flat, then the F, then the F sharp, then the G. Okay, so that's the first part. Then we have have G, B flat, G, B flat, G, okay? So, okay, so, and that's the whole of that first part. So just in terms of the frets, we've got 3rd fret, then 6th fret, A string, then onto the D string, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, okay? And then for the final part, that's just 5th fret D string, 3rd fret G string, back and forth. But like I say, if you've already learned that blues scale and you've just played it just as a refresher, that should all seem pretty straightforward, because all we're doing is working up through the blues scale and then just working between that 5th and the flat 7. Okay? For the second part of the riff, we have a similar beginning, so we have 2 notes on the C, then up to the E flat, 6th fret of the A string, then F, F sharp, okay, so 3rd fret, 4th fret, D string. But then we come back to the F, 3rd fret. Then back down to the E flat, 6th fret of the A string. And then we have, so F, F sharp, F, back to E flat. 3rd fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret, D string, and then back to the E flat on the A string, 6th fret. So, okay, so just listen to that for the rhythm. Just try playing that round and round a few times. Okay, so now let's just put both of those parts of the riff together. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's it. Once you have the complete riff under your fingers, try it with the drum beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and one thing that you'll notice with this scale is that I'm getting to use both types of melodic device with it. So like I talked about earlier, we could pass between the two. So on the way up, that blues note is passing between the 4th and the 5th, and then on the second half, we've got the, which is the little, you know, the little lick that I was showing you earlier, where we're using it as a bit of a neighbour note there. So it's a neighbour note to the 4th, just going to and fro from there. And the reason for a lot of this is because that blues note in there, that flat and 5th, sharp and 4th, whatever you want to call it, if you were to hold on it, it's a very dissonant note. So by passing through it, it doesn't get a chance to really stay dissonant for long. You know, you don't really notice it. It just gives it that bluesy edge. If we hold on it, you know, it's a lot more dissonant. And you can hear that a little bit in the riff. You know, you kind of get it there where it sort of crosses over more into the kind of metal kind of side of things. You know, that kind of thing. But, like I said, with the riff, you get both the passing notes and the neighbour notes. Okay, so that's the blues scale, or the minor blues scale. Just try messing around with it, you know, coming up with your own riffs, and remember that all the lesson material is available to download over at talkingbass.net. Okay, I'll see you later.